It's a long reading this morning, but we're not going to get through it all. I don't think my voice will hold up for a long sermon, so we'll do a short reading, short sermon. You heard that it is said by the people long ago, do not murder. Anyone who murders will be subject to judgment. But verily I say that to you that anyone who is angry with his brother will be subjected to judgment. Anyone who says of his brother Raka is answerable to the Sanhedrin, but anyone who says you fool will be in danger of the fire of hell. Therefore, if you're offering your gift at the altar and there remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift there in front of the altar. First go and be reconciled to your brother. Then come and offer your gift. Settle matters quickly with your enemies. Anyone who is taking you to court, do it while you are still with him on the way, or he may hand you over to the judge, and the judge may hand you over to prison. And I say to you this, you will not get out until you have paid every penalty, every penny of your debt. The words from the Lord in the house of the Lord. Amen. I could have read more. It's about adultery and about, I forget what the rest of it is, so I would have had to read it anyway. What Paul wrote to the church at Corinth is a reminder of kind of what's being dealt with in the United Methodist Church at this time. The United Methodist Church worldwide. There is schism about. There's confrontation between various factors within the United Methodist Church as to how we ought to be running our church worldwide. And while those things carry great weight in newspapers and probably in lofty places, what it boils down to for you and me and the church down the road and so forth is that we're called by Christ to be his servants. We're called by Christ to always do what he asks us to do, and to let the people who want to be in charge, be in charge. Let the ones who want to be in power, and let them make all sorts of fuss and fume and so forth, as long as they don't come too close to home. Sounds a lot like our government, doesn't it? Yeah. Didn't elect your president, so you don't have to be nice. You didn't elect my president, so I don't have to be. Yeah, you do. Because we're a civilized society. We're called by God to love through all things. We're called by God to love all people, not just those who agree with us or who have an axe to grind, but rather to be aware of all people around us. Amen. And Paul wrote to the church at Corinth, and he said, you all started out with me as babies. I didn't give you solid food. I gave you milk because you couldn't handle solid food. And the danger is we want to be theologians. We want to jump in deeply into a very simple situation. Jesus said, if you have a problem with your brother, fix it. Now, I had 3 older brothers, so I had lots of problems to fix. I no longer have any problems with my brothers. They're gone. And I say that with tongue-in-cheek because there was a time when my brother and I didn't like each other much. But we learned to love each other after a while. When he began to understand how smart I was. No, unfortunately that wasn't what did it. But we have a family tree that branches out so far. And in 2000, the year my dad turned 100, we had a reunion of all of his living descendants here in Bullhead City, which really swelled the population for a day or two. At the time, he had 83 living descendants, and we had 84 people in attendance. He showed up, so we had 84 people at the reunion. But it was amazing that every one of his living descendants from anywhere in the world came to spend that day or so with him. And it made me wonder, what did he do that was different? What did he do that brought us together in that kind of a feeling that how important family is? Now, some of them were a long ways away. Some of we haven't seen in a long time, but we remember and we know, and we speak to each other. And we hope that we have settled all of the grievances between us. But he said, if you go to the altar with your gift, and you have something in your heart that's troubling you, you've got to fix that first. You've got to make that right first. Then you can come to Christ and he'll hear you. But until you get that block out of your heart and out of your mind. I remember when I went to grade school, I was in a one-room school, and there were 8 grades. And sometimes the 8th graders would pick on the 1st graders. Now, that didn't happen to me because my oldest brother was one of the 8th graders, and that was the protector brother, not the antagonizer brother. That was the protector. But the relationships that we have with people is really an amazing thing. After, I got to relate this. It was after the first service, one of the gentlemen who was in the service came up to me and he said, this week I was in the bingo line, and this lady behind me had been giving me grief at other times, and I told her what I thought of the situation. And another young lady in the crowd came over and put his arms around her and said, you really need a hug, don't you? And he said, I went over and I apologized to the lady. And that's what I'm talking about. Fix it. Don't wear it. Don't harp on it. Don't make it bigger than it really is, because the longer you let something fester, the tougher it is to get rid of it. So fix it. Whether it's to reach out in love to someone, if it's to simply wave somebody into traffic. Don't you just hate it when you're about to get in and there's room, except the guy pulls up about 2 more feet and there isn't room to get into that spot where you could have got in, and if he'd only let me in, most of the time it takes us another 12 to 14 seconds for good things to happen. If we wait long enough, I realize that 12 to 14 seconds is a life-changing intermission, but if we just wait a little while before we express our anger, if we just wait a little while before we react the wrong way, what a wonderful world we would have. When that ball is headed, you know it's headed for the green, and it takes a bounce into the sand trap. To profoundly say, well, things happen. Sure. I mean, there are some places where it's okay to be angry over something. Almost every one of us, anybody here play golf? Almost every one of us has had a bad bounce on occasion. And our lives are not much different because we did. Our lives are exactly what we make of them. God asks us to change the world. The motto of the United Methodist Church is make disciples for Christ to change the world. And before you can change the world, you have to change one person. You have to change the only person that you can change. You have to make you better with the help of God. We have to make you different with the help of God. Paul wrote to the church at Corinth and said, I give you milk because you're infants in Christ. And every one of us has started as an infant in Christ. Every one of us has needed to be fed the milk of human kindness through the love of Christ. But we want to become raving missionaries around the world at the first step church. You can't do that because you get led in wrong directions. You have to be strong enough to walk the straight line. You have to be strong enough to listen for Christ's voice over and above the babble of all of us wild-eyed preachers who will lead you astray. You have to be strong enough to change you with the help of Christ. When that happens, the world changes. When that happens, you make disciples. When that happens, you learn to love. Amen.
Amen.
Excuse me, I could feel that one coming. Would you stand and join with me in Take My Life and Let It Be, 390. Passage from the Bible as I did this morning, you can read on and on about what we do to each other and what God expects of us. And it can be summarized so quickly, so easily. Love thy neighbor, fix yourself. Love your neighbor, love yourself. Go in peace. Amen.